Hey everybody, welcome to Weight Loss for Women Over 40. I am Nikki T and I am your host, and I help women over 40 master their minds so they can change their body. That may be pounds coming off, or that may be the way you look at yourself in the mirror, what you're saying to yourself, or it may be the way you look at your weight loss journey. But it all starts inside of your mind. It all starts between those beautiful ears of yours, and when you master the skill sets, you can have the body that you want when you have these skill sets available to you. And it's so much easier to lose the weight when you have these skill sets. So, today we're diving into a topic that so many women struggle with, but rarely are really open about it in the way that we're going to talk about it today. So, it is the emotional eating trap. If you've ever found yourself reaching for food when you're not physically hungry or you're feeling stuck in a cycle of eating to soothe feelings, then this episode is definitely for you. We're going to explore why emotional eating happens, how to spot it, and most importantly, how to break free and really nourish your body and soul. And if you want some more on this, head over to my Instagram account because I'm doing a lot of reels and carousels on this topic of emotional eating. You can find me at Weight Loss for Women Over 40. It's 40 at the end. Go over there, send me a DM and say hello and that you heard me on the podcast. I would love to get a message from you. All right, so let's dive into the topic today. So, what exactly is emotional eating? Emotional eating is when you eat in response to feelings rather than physical hunger. When I realized this kind of blew my mind, and I love when clients' minds get blown by this as well, because we think that, like, we go throughout the day and we have these thoughts, and we just think it is a physical response, like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm thinking I'm hungry. I should go eat. But it can be triggered by so many things. You could be stressed out, you could be bored, you could be lonely, you could have some anxiety going on, even happiness. Like that was a big one when I realized I realized when years ago when the kids were no longer weren't in the house or they had been taken out, by my parents or whatever. And I was left alone in the house and I was like, ooh, party for one. What am I going to do? I'm going to eat. I'm going to have something sweet. I'm going to have something yummy. And when I realized that happiness could also trigger this, I was like, well, that's kind of sucks, right? Because you always think emotional eating from, back in the 80s, it was like you always saw the 80s movies where the girl's sitting on the couch, her heart is broken, right? And she's eating a tub of Haagen-Dazs ice cream and there's chips everywhere and she's just crying and miserable and drinking wine and you know it's a coping mechanism, but you can also have it emotional eating when you're happy. And all this boils down to is it's a way to temporarily soothe the emotions that you don't want to feel. So here's the catch though. Emotional eating does not solve the underlying feelings. It just masks them. And often you're left feeling even more guilty, right? Because think about last time you were upset and you dove into that Haagen-Dazs and you ate that and a bag of chips and a bag of cookies or whatever your thing is. Then what happens? It's the aftermath of feeling guilty, the spiral for like maybe weeks. Tell me, I know you're like raising your hand right now, virtually. There have been times when you will spiral for weeks, for months, ruminating on the fact that you overdid it in that moment. And it's the aftermath that kills you in the emotional sense because you just drag it out. Like the actual eating of the whatever, let's say it's cake and ice cream, the overeating moment, the binge moment of emotional eating is literally a pinpoint in your timeline. But we like to drag it out and drag it into the next 2 weeks, next 3 weeks, months, go on, years, right? It was one moment in time. Let it go. Move on. And I hope that doesn't come off flippant because I understand. I have been there. Um, and I don't think it's easy unless you have the tools and the skill sets to understand where it's coming from and how to navigate it. So why does emotional eating happen? Right? There are a few reasons that emotional eating will take hold of you. Again, comfort and distraction. Food can provide a temporary relief from uncomfortable emotions. If you don't want to feel something, so say you got in an argument with your partner, your spouse, your husband, and you're really pissed off, but you don't want to have a conversation with them to say it's over, you're going to want to eat. And I know that's a little extreme, but your eating mechanism is because you don't want to feel the feelings of like, no, it's time to go, time to end this. The other thing it could be is learned habits. This is a big one. If you're over 40, you have 4+ decades of conditioning and response from your childhood, from teachers, from mentors. I know for me, food was definitely a reward. And also think back to like, so I'm 52 and my parents are in their 80s. They grew up with parents from the Depression. Then, so that trickles down through generations of like, so my parents, it was in the 80s, things were kind of like, you went to dinner a little bit more often, not like today. Like going out to dinner was a big thing for us back then. And you learned that, when you were there, you ate everything that you could because we don't know if we're going to go out to dinner again. Unlike today, where you can go out to dinner, I mean, most people go out to dinner every single night, right? It could have been, you were upset and somebody was like, "Hey, I know you're upset. Let's go get an ice cream cone." Right? In the efforts to make you feel better, right? But again, and we're not blaming them. It's just that's what you were conditioned with. So yours may be something similar or something a little bit different, but the habits and the conditioning that we learned as children, we've carried it through into our adult life. Another thing is there's a lack of coping skills. So let's say your parents always argued, always fought, and you couldn't control that chaos in your life. But the one thing you can control is the food. Like if food was available, you could handle overeating to kind of calm down the anxiousness and nervousness you probably felt as a child, right? So that food now is your to go to when you hear an argument, when you have an argument with somebody. We learn those patterns, we learn those skills, and we all have different ones because we all have led different lives. I find as a coach, that's what makes it so fascinating to me. Everyone has a different story, and we need to kind of pull at that thread and unravel it so you understand how you've been coping and how to now cope as an adult. The other thing is biological factors. So this could be good old hormones, right? Perimenopause, menopause, stuff that's going on. If you're getting your period, all those things can alter some cravings. Um, I remember being in school, and I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there's a thing that most pregnant women get that they crave chalk. Like they want to eat chalk. Yes, I'm talking chalk that you draw on a chalkboard with. I forget what it's called. But like that's a craving. There's also cravings. A lot of times when you're craving chocolate, it usually means that you need some more magnesium. Different things you're craving could be a nutritional deficit, could be your hormones, but I also want to offer if it's hormonal, let's say you have a hormonal response and you are dying to eat. Actually, I'll take me for an example. When I was pregnant, I was so afraid that I would crave pickles and ice cream because that was like the thing that everybody apparently would craves when you're pregnant. I love ice cream. I hate pickles. I think pickles are gross beyond belief. That's a whole nother story. However, if I had craved pickles in that moment, I would not have eaten a pickle because my dominant thought is I don't like pickles. I think they're gross. So we still have some control in the sense of like if you're craving something, like if somebody's craving chalk, I'm pretty sure they're going to be questioning before they pick up that piece of chalk from their child and want to gnaw down on it, right? And no judgment here if you do have that, because I can't imagine that must have been really interesting. But notice that sometimes the thoughts that we have, like I need chocolate, is it really that you need chocolate? Or again, it's always like the chicken before the egg. In my mind, it's like, let's investigate the mindset part and figure that out. And if that's not it, then let's go to the hormones. Let's go see what the hormone panels say. That's just my opinion. So, how do you spot emotionally eating? Okay, so if you are doing one thing and then the next thing you know, you're face in a bag of chocolate chip cookies. Again, no judgment here. You are emotionally eating. Like there's a blackout, right? So what I want you to ask yourself, right? Emotionally eating a lot too comes from there's a difference between overeating. There is an emotional component with that, so I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but there's a difference between saying I'm going to overeat or I'm overeating, I ate a lot of food, versus overeating to the extent of like a bag of chocolate chip cookies because you can't handle the conversation that you're going to have with your boss, right? There's a difference between the two. I do believe that any kind of overeating, like when you are past your physical fullness, that is an emotional response. Because again, the whole point of our bodies is to fuel your body so you can do things, right? We're not bears and hibernating for winter anymore or anything like that, right? But again, our primitive brain is holding on to that because that's how we are wired, right? But before I go down that rabbit hole, so I want you to ask yourself, am I truly hungry or am I trying to manage an emotion? Am I physically hungry or am I emotionally hungry? Am I thinking I'm hungry or am I physically hungry? And again, the way to determine that really is like if you are truly physically hungry, most foods are going to satisfy you. As opposed to you're like, oh, I'm hungry and chocolate is the answer, right? If it's more specific, chances are it's more of an emotional. And if it involves sugar, sugar, alcohol, something like that, some kind of dopamine hit thing. Like nobody that I know of goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so upset. I need to eat broccoli. I need to eat Brussels sprouts. I just can't handle it anymore." No. You eat ice cream, you eat cookies, you eat chips, you drink wine, those kind of things. So what emotions are you feeling right now? That is the second question to ask yourself. And then next is what would I do in this moment if food wasn't available to me? And that may tailspin your brain into like, oh my gosh, we're gonna die. I'm very familiar with that um, train of thought, and it's not always fun, right? Because I used to have reactive hypoglycemia where I was told I had to eat every 3 to 4 hours or I would pass out. And there were times where I was in the grocery store and I would almost have a panic attack because I could feel my blood sugar dropping and that feeling of I'm going to pass out any second. Not a fun feeling. I still have scars from that. I don't think I have reactive hypoglycemia anymore, which is very interesting, and that again is another topic for another day. Um, but I still have those thoughts of like I always have food with me at all times, but I'm always a little bit nervous about like, oh, I haven't eaten and I'm about ready to go for this hike. Am I going to pass out? So, recognizing the patterns is the first step. So again, ask yourself, are you physically hungry or are you emotionally hungry? Next, what emotions are you feeling right now? And what would you do if food was not an option for you right now? So, breaking free from emotional eating is not about willpower. And you will hear that in any other weight loss, fitness, health coach thing that I know about that you've probably seen. And here's the typical responses that you will get from someone like that. And I don't agree with them. So here's my little checklist. So when you see these out and about, I want you to kind of wave your little red flag and go, I want to question that. So the first typical response you're going to get in how to break free of emotional eating is pause and check in. So when you want to eat, you take a moment to identify your feelings. Now, I agree with this to a point, but a lot of times cravings come in super fast and you have to catch the thoughts. Okay, so awareness is key. But even if you pause and check in, you have to know what to do with those feelings and those thoughts that are coming in. The next thing you're going to hear is create a toolbox, create some sort of alternative ways to cope. And I agree with the toolbox thing, but I don't agree with what they're putting in their toolbox. So the typical alternative ways to cope are like keeping your hands busy, go for a walk, go call a friend, do some deep breathing. I absolutely hate this advice. I call it habit swapping because you're just putting a band-aid on the symptom. You must get to the root cause in order for it to have lasting change. So let's get our hands busy alternative. What if knitting is your coping mechanism? And when you're at home, you get a craving, you're like, I'm gonna go knit, right? But what happens when you're out in a restaurant with friends? You're not just gonna whip out your knitting at the table and start knitting a scarf. Basically, the typical method is distraction. And I promise you that craving that you are trying to distract yourself from will pop up over and over and over again because you are not finding the solution at the root. Until you understand why it keeps popping up, you will have the same craving over and over and over again. Hack your brain with supportive tools to put in your toolbox because you bring your brain with you everywhere you go. Knitting, not so much. The friend that you walk with, not so much. There's certain circumstances that you will be in that you can't go for a walk, that you can't step out and get fresh air. You can't take 10 minutes to breathe. And again, it's habit swapping. You're not finding the root cause. The next thing is practicing mindful eating. I get this. Eat slowly, savor your food. Focus on true hunger signals. So again, this is great if you eat by yourself. If you have absolutely no distractions around you, this works fine, right? You're noticing what you're eating, you're savoring each bite, you're focusing on your hunger cues, things like that. However, ask yourself, how often do you eat by yourself? Like literally by yourself with nothing else on your mind, no distractions. Chances are you don't. Usually you're eating with your work friends, your girlfriends, your family, your partner, whatever it is. If you are sitting down by yourself, chances are, yes, you can focus on it, but chances are there's going to be thoughts. Oh, I have to pay that bill. Oh, I need to pick up my son at noon at school today. I got to remember to make my hair appointment. Like there's things that filter through. Next is be compassionate. I do love this one, right? Don't beat yourself up over emotional eating moments. I agree that being compassionate to yourself is part of the process. Yes, 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 yes. But again, this is learning the mindset skills to support compassion to yourself. Because I don't know about you, I thought I was very compassionate to myself for 35-ish years, maybe 38 years of my life. Maybe in my early baby years, I was. Quite frankly, you and me, we've probably been complete a-holes to yourself for the most of your life, right? Think of that negative chatter that goes on in your brain. So to learn how to be compassionate to yourself when you've been a jerk all your life, your inner critic has been a jerk to you, takes some skill sets. It takes some tools. It takes a process to get you to that space because that inner critic is very strong, so strong, and it will keep popping up unless you know how to navigate around it, navigate with it, work with it. The last one is seek support, whether it's coaching, therapy, or a support group. You don't have to do this alone. Again, that is typical advice from a regular fitness health coach, whatever. I agree with this again initially. I think it's great if you want to get support, find people that support you. Definitely coaching, get the right coach. Therapy, if that is an option for you, definitely do that. Again, be selective as to who your therapist is. I think there's different types of therapy that are more effective than others. Um, but the difference again is get the tools that you need initially, but then have 100% accountability to yourself and have your tools be able to support this because then you don't need a lifeline again. This is how I teach my clients. When they come in, a lot of them are like, I need accountability. Yeah, you do, but we're going to teach you, I'm going to teach you how to be accountable to yourself. So you don't need me. You have the tools because again, they're in your brain. You get to bring them wherever you go. And then you can be accountable to yourself. You don't have to rely on Aunt Susie. You don't have to rely on this group that you belong to. It's nice, right? That's an added bonus if that's what you like. But being independent and 100% accountable for yourself is a game changer. It's absolutely a game changer. You don't need to rely on anyone again. Okay. And this is not like, women power. We don't need anybody. That's not what I'm saying. It's just when you have the skill sets, it's a lot different. It's almost like, that other person is a crutch for you. And if that crutch isn't there, it's like what I was saying about the knitting. If the knitting isn't there when you're at a restaurant, it's not effective. But if it's in your brain, then it'll be effective, right? Just implement. All right. So emotional eating is common, but it does not have to control your life. And by tuning into your feelings and getting the tools that you need, you really can break free and have a healthier relationship with food. And remember, nourishment is more about food, it's about caring for your whole self. And another thing that a lot of people, like when they talk to me about emotional eating, they're concerned about like when I first started, it was like I can never eat any of my favorite foods again because they're just too tempting. I can't be around them. And that's not realistic. So if you're unfamiliar with my story, I will, and on cravings, I will share you the Cliff Note versions of it. If you want to learn more about it, I talk way in depth in a course of mine. But I used to be obsessed by cream-filled powdered donuts. The donuts, they have the white powder on the top and then the white cream in the inside. Oh my gosh, they're so good. I was obsessed by them. If they were near me, I could not eat them. They would just they had to go in my mouth. I had to eat them. They used to call for me in another room. So my ex-husband would buy, and I'm not exaggerating at all, 12 dozen cream-filled powder donuts. And I would try my hardest to avoid them. I would go in another room, but they would talk to me like Alice in Wonderland, like, eat me, eat me. And I was obsessed. I mean, you want to talk about rumination? You probably know. If you're an emotional eater, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about because the food talks to you. It tells you that you must eat it. It tells you that, you're going to waste it. It tells you you better hurry up and eat me now because you're not going to see me anymore because you're starting your quote unquote diet the next day or whatever it is, right? Or you have to eat all of them because then they won't be in your house anymore. I hear you. If this stuff is resonating, I hear you. I really do. It was a lot. And I used to freak the F out. And I felt so out of control. If I did hold on to any kind of willpower, I use that word jokingly, um, it was not long before I snapped. And I would eat six at a time, 6 donuts at a time, maybe, till I felt sick, till I would have like sugar flush. And then I would be like in a carb coma because I had eaten so much sugar and so much donuts in one shot. Um, a lot of times I would black out almost as I was eating them. I would also eat them, I would inhale them. I mean, fast. Because somewhere in my brain is like kind of like that if it happens in Vegas, what stays in Vegas or whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas type thing. But it was like if I do it fast enough, maybe my body won't realize what I'm actually doing, right? Or, if I eat them fast, it didn't actually happen. I wanted to stop. I wanted to feel in control. I wanted those freaking donuts to not talk to me anymore. But I still wanted to eat them, right? I still think they're delicious and yummy. I didn't want to exile them from my life. But I did not want to feel compelled to eat them, but I wanted to have the option in control. If I wanted to eat them, I could. So I spent a lot of time working on myself doing this. This was early in my mindset journey career. And what evolved from that is my 5-step program, Crush Your Cravings, that does end emotional eating. And it has helped me tremendously. If you put a cream-filled powdered donut in front of me, it does not talk to me. It does not compel me to eat it. Do I still want it? Absolutely. But I'm in control and I decide whether I want to eat it or not. Not the other way around, not the food telling me I have to eat it. So I created my program out of this. I have used it on clients. Many clients have gone through it. It has changed my life. It has also changed the lives of the people that have taken the course. I remember doing, because I used to do this as a workshop. One of the ladies was in the workshop, and I believe it was day two. It was a 5-day workshop, but I think it was day two. Um, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, that last thing that you talked about was amazing." I don't know if it was step one, two, I really don't remember, but she was like, it was like a light bulb moment. It changed my entire life. Like she had a huge win so early on in the program. Um, Now that workshop is condensed into a course, so you could probably be through that course maybe in an hour tops, I think. I don't know. Um, but I want to share it with you because if you are struggling with emotional eating and cravings, I get you. It is not a fun place to be. And I'm telling you, it is all mindset stuff. So if you want to have a look at it, if you're tired of being compelled by your cravings, my approach is very different than what you are going to get on the internet from other people. But I do have an exclusive coupon for you guys, my favorite listeners out there. It is a 20% coupon, 20% off coupon for my Crush Your Cravings. You can get it at weightlossforwomenover40.net/crush. Again, the website is weightlossforwomenover40.net/crush. CRUSH. Just go there, click the button where it says, yes, I want this, or whatever it is. Click that. And then on the following page, I want you to use the code PODCAST, PODCAST, and you can get 20% off that course. This offer is good only until October 20th of, not 20th, October 10th of 2025. So, depending on when you listen to this podcast, this definitely is for my early listeners, those people that are subscribed who get on quick and listen to the podcast when it comes out. Definitely go grab this if cravings and emotional eating are really tearing you down. I am telling you, within 20 minutes of watching the course, probably even less than that, you will be able to use the tools immediately. So if you are a midnight snacker, or you just can't say no to dessert after dinner, or you just actually had a client who had a candy box in their closet. Like if that is you, please go grab this. It's 20% off. Again, it's weight loss for women over 40.net/crush. The code is podcast, PODCAST, ends October 10th, 2025, whatever year this is. Anyway, I hope this episode resonated with you. And if it did, please share it with someone who is struggling with emotional eating. We do not have to go through this. I'm telling you, mindset is the game changer. Hack your system and you can accomplish amazing things. So until next time, be very kind to yourself, nourish your soul, and I hope to see you in Crush Your Cravings. Take care.